Good morning to everyone, and welcome to the webinar. It's more than a webinar. Today we're going to have a chat with John, our branch chair. I've been working with John for 2 years, and he's really exciting. He's a man that is very calm, always takes everything very English-like, and at the same time, it's that man that climbs all the mountains, and you just get to know him slowly. So it's my pleasure to welcome you, everyone. And John is going to talk us a bit through the branch plans for the next few years. We wanted to do this webinar because it's so important to know each other. By saying that, I forgot to introduce myself, right? I'm Nico. I'm also part of the European Branch Committee. And we wanted to know what are the plans for you, what are the things that you would like to see from the branch. And we have been conducting a bit of intelligence. We're not many members in Europe, and we really want to grow. And when you're volunteering, as you know, you do this altruistically. You want to grow the branch, you want to get new members, engage people, and sometimes the plans don't go according to plan. So we said, why not talk to the members and ask them what they want? So John will do a little presentation, and after that, we can all unmute ourselves and have a good questions and answer. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nico. Yeah, as Nico said, this is more of a branch meeting than a webinar, but there is a bit of information as background before we get to the more interactive bit. So let me just move that out of the way and click on the presentation. So this is roughly the agenda that we're going to go to. So there is a bit of information on IIRSM and the background, and then we'll get into the branch. So a little bit about us as a committee, the history of the branch, what we're trying to achieve, and show you some pictures from recent events, and then some of the questions and challenges. And this is where we want you to come in and really share your ideas and how you can get involved and what you'd like to see from us, and what value we can add to your lives as risk professionals. So what I forgot to do as well, just briefly introduce myself. So Nico said, as he said, I'm the chair of the branch. I've worked for many years around Europe, so in the UK and Hungary, and I currently live in Switzerland. I was working for a major Swiss international as head of their global health and safety organization, and I'm now working as a freelance consultant and also semi-retired, so I can spend more time on volunteer roles like this one. So let's get on with the agenda. For those of you who don't know, it's always worth a reminder, this is the vision of the International Institute of Risk and Safety Management. And I'm not going to read all the text, but there's a vision there about really helping people feel safe, and that includes psychological safety as well as physical safety, and also helping organizations understand risk and manage it better. So we've primarily been about health and safety over the years, but it's more than that. It's other types of risk as well, so a more holistic approach. And the values that are espoused around honesty, adaptability, collaboration, being approachable, and respecting each other. So this is a little bit about IIRSM, and I can sort of direct you to the website if you want more information. On the website, if you go into the community, you'll see about the branch and branch events. So there are branches in the UK and Ireland. There's a European branch. There are branches in the Middle East and Africa, and the organisation is growing and getting more of an international scope. The first I of IIRSM is getting more attention, and we're looking to have more of these branch events where we can network a bit better, share ideas and experience, support each other, and build some of the connections around the organisation. One of the questions that's always asked is why join IIRSM? Things like this session today is free to non-members, so why should I join? And there are various benefits beyond just being in the community of your local branch and joining the events. So if you look at some of the things here, for example, the mentoring scheme, I'm mentoring somebody at the moment, and there's quite a network there of mentors and mentees, which is really good, particularly for younger people in the industry and in developing their knowledge and careers. I think the access to the technical resources, some of the training, and there's also a group of corporate partners that we're working with as well. Again, find out more on the website. And I've realized already, one of the things I forgot to say is that if you haven't realized already on Zoom, you can get a translation. So if English is not your first language and you want some subtitles, you can click on the button at the bottom, let's say that right, and get some the more button and show captions, and you can find something in other languages. Okay, so the European branch, we're at 3 people at the moment. We've had more people involved in the past directly in the committee, and I won't be shy that part of the reason for this call is that we'd also like to see more people involved in the committee. So we're looking for your ideas, but we're also looking for volunteers to help at the committee level as well. As well as myself and Nico, Cole, who unfortunately couldn't join the call today, is a New Zealander based in Switzerland. So we're very Swiss heavy, and we're also looking to branch out and get committee members from other regions as well. And then I'm going to cover a little bit about the history of the branch. So we actually, and I'm going to mention the other I word, which is IIRSM, which is not always the most popular topic in our institute, but we started off as an IIRSM Swiss network, and we were mostly having face-to-face meetings. You know, the good old days post-COVID, when a lot more things were in person. We developed quite a nice community here. We were encouraged to apply for recognition as a branch, but that wasn't forthcoming, and we started to lose any support from IIRSM, and we decided to switch our attentions to we went into COVID, and we switched our attention mostly to webinars because that was all we could do in COVID. But it was during that time that we created the IIRSM Europe branch and became full members of the institute, and got a lot more support from the team in the UK. The map top right, I managed to find one without the UK and Ireland. The branch itself covers all of Europe apart from the UK and Ireland, which has got its own branch network. We're also very happy to have people join our events and calls from the UK and Ireland, but also from the Middle East, where we have a lot of interest now, and also Africa and other regions, because we're interested in collaboration with those branches in organizations, and we'll get onto that later. The next question, we've moved on to mix of face-to-face and online, but the next question is really what happens next. And that's the real purpose of this call, is to figure out how we can work together, how we can really create value for the future. So as it stands at the moment, we have 75 people who are members of our branch. Those of you on the call who are members will realize that with the new CRM system came in this year. Prior to this year, people could not join the European branch. So we were relying on just understanding where people were located. We were relying on our WhatsApp group, our LinkedIn followers to build that network. Now we have a proper branch network through the system, and people can join. We've already had 75 people join the branch, either as their primary branch or as their secondary branch. And obviously one of our aims is to grow that. So that we have more people clicking on that primary branch as Europe. We're also very happy for people outside of our remit to join as a secondary branch. For example, people who are working for international organizations that have a head office or sites in continental Europe may have an interest in connecting and collaborating and understanding how we can connect some of these things across multiple regions. We do have more than 400 LinkedIn followers, so there's quite an active community there. And we do have a WhatsApp group as well, where we're sharing information, and we're using that for events that are going on, and knowledge sharing, and even people moving into the region and saying, can you help? I'm looking for some support. I'm looking for a network. Can you help me? So the link to the WhatsApp group has been good for that. Okay, so our objectives, I mean, obviously very similar to the Institute's objectives, which is networking and sharing experience. And we do want to get a bit more back to some face-to-face events if we can, both in Switzerland and also extending it outside of Switzerland, so we can grow the branch in other parts of Europe. Learning opportunities, which is also about sharing experience. So how can we learn from each other? Growing the branch, as I mentioned, raising the profile of risk management, so not just health and safety, but risk management overall within this region. Promoting the Institute membership and also mentoring is something we've not promoted very hard within the branch, but I think there's a good opportunity for mentoring within the group. A sample of recent events and some nice pictures here. So if you look at the, really the last 12 months, some of the things we've done, Nico did a great webinar with one of his colleagues on behavioral safety and the E-color concept. So really looking at personality, attitude to risk, and how you factor that into your risk management processes at work. Very nice webinar there. We had a face-to-face visit to CERN last year in Geneva. So we had quite a good group come into that, not just from Switzerland, some people from outside the country as well. And so you can't beat those face-to-face events, but that was a really good experience. And at the end of last year, myself and Alison, who was the previous chair, we presented on our experience of sailing across the Atlantic and how we managed the risk of that activity. So we've had some nice events. We want to continue that process as well. So, having been through that, it's a very quick run through of the Institute and the branch. I'd like to hand back to Nico to talk about some of the questions and give you a chance to speak as well. Nico.
Thank you. So we have a lot of questions about the growth, right? And one of the first things, as you said, it was that no one could select the European branch until this year. In some cases, some people decide to keep their UK address because they're commuting between Europe and the UK. So we don't have super visibility. We have 75 members that they are members of the IIRSM. And as well, we have a lot of members in the WhatsApp group where they exchange jobs, questions, etc., etc. And then the LinkedIn group that, as John said, is very active. But I want to hear from you. I'm really, at the moment I'm in Germany, in Kassel. And as John said, because our first group was IIRSM Switzerland, then when we mutated the IIRSM members, that we stayed there, we were all Swiss. However, we have contacts in Paris, I'm now in Germany, and we're branching out, and we want to hear from you. So can I ask, to mute yourselves and just introduce yourself and say where you're based and what do you do and what level of membership, so on. Herman, can I start with you, please?
Morning. I kind of had the feeling that my number will be selected first. Awesome. This is actually my first introduction that I've had with any member of the IIRSM, except for the one that recommended me to join, which is my current line manager. Right. But my name is Herman Janssen van Vieren. I'm South African living in Germany. I stay in Cologne. I work for CHEP Pallets. I work within the European Health and Safety team. I look after Central, Eastern Europe and Southern Europe. Like I said, it's my first time joining any webinar from the IIRSM. So it's quite exciting for me to learn about the branch. It is new, about the members, the WhatsApp group. It's all valuable information, stuff that I didn't even know about. I'm still finding my way around the IIRSM portal, the resources and so on. I have reached out to one of the people in the organization. I think it's Suzanne or something is the lady's name. So I got some nice information from there, which I now, because I couldn't find the Sentinel, because I wanted to browse through it and see what it was about, what content was in there, because I've seen a copy of it before, but never like, you know, one that I could just access myself whenever I wanted to. So
Herman, that is one of my pet fights. You know, if the UK member, that you pay exactly the same as you and I, you get the Sentinel, but we don't get it. So we've been trying to get some, you know, European content into it and so on, but so far we haven't been successful. And that is because, you know, we all have our jobs and we're doing this voluntarily. But yes, it's a very good point that you raised there, and I'm gonna take it.
There is a very nice online version that you can access. We'll send you the link.
I got the,
Yes.
I got the link to it eventually, and I actually accessed it and I had a browse through it.
It's
It
actually a
was-
good magazine, and you know, online is I'm sure it's good, but you know, it's just that we're all day online. Sometimes I just need the magazine. I know it's maybe silly, but it's just what it is. But a good point. The Sentinel is one of the points, yeah.
Yeah. Then related to membership at the moment, actually, I joined as an affiliate, and then I upgraded to associate, and I'm waiting for some results to come through. Then I will join as a member. So that is going to be the next step, and so I will progress. So I'm taking it, you know, step by step.
Very good. Thank you so much, Herman. Alberto, can I go to you? You're muted. Oh, there we go.
Hi, everybody. Alberto Cusimano. I'm based also in Switzerland. I work in CSL as a global director for IIHS Manufacturing. Join some of those meetings over the last years, but let me say I've seen sometimes we reduce the attraction sometimes to this network over the last year since we started with IIRSM. That's at least my impression over the last couple of years. I don't know if you have been experienced the same feeling or the same perception.
You're muted, Nico.
Sorry, Alberto. What are you saying about the feeling?
So I think I start when we were at IIRSM, joined IIRSM organization a couple of years ago, or maybe 3 years ago. But I see since we moved to IIRSM, we lose some attraction to the network. That's at least what I would like to share with the team. There was COVID in between, reorganization. I think here the key is the message, or the key that should be for this European branch is for sure expand the network to a broader, so to the country where, so because I personally see more Swiss-centric at this point of time, and maybe try to find some topics that really track or keep people where people can see value of joining this meeting, this webinar, and what we do.
Alberto, I think you have a point there. Sorry.
You usually listen to what I think that what we miss. Sometimes I said to John maybe a few weeks ago, we need to start listening the voice of the customer, see what people are interested in, why we need they see a value in joining this organization. That's something that I think might be important for this small team and this organization.
So I think with you, I agree with Swiss-centric, but that was, you know, what happened, not because it was per default. We really didn't think. And interestingly, the point as well is, you know, when you're doing this in a volunteer base, because, you know, the UK, as they have more customers, it have an economy of a scale to maybe have more support for the branches and so on. And here we're still picking up until we have that traction. John, you are part of the council as well of IIRSM.
Yes, correct. So, yeah.
Please go ahead.
No, I was going to say that since the end of last year, I joined the council as a trustee. So also trying to understand more about their objectives and how we can use the organisation and how we can fit in as well and contribute to the institute.
All right. Michael, can I get you to introduce yourself? Thank you, Albert. You're muted.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I've
Yes,
got you now.
perfect.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you know what? If I had £1 for every time someone said you're on mute, I'd be a millionaire. And everybody's using different systems, and I haven't used Zoom since COVID. And I was trying to remember how to navigate around it, and I couldn't recall. So good morning, everybody. So my name is Michael Ford. I've been a member of IIRSM. I was talking to John earlier this morning, and I've been a member since 1992, and I joined
Wow.
IOSH at the same time. And it's interesting how the mindset in relation to safety institutions and professional memberships, how that has evolved over the last 30 or so years, and how it's never really taken off in certain geographies of the world, with continental Europe being one of them, because it's a bit of a new concept. We kind of do it in the US, Australia, and UK, and I think we're just getting to grips with it now in terms of Europe. I actually ran the Northwest England branch for about 7 years, so if anything I can share to try and help, because sometimes it can be a bit of a thankless task at times, because you try to please everybody and please no one. So any kind of information I can share that may help, I'll gladly do so, because obviously this is my first time joining. And the one comment I would make, and it's something Herman mentioned earlier about the system, I found it incredibly difficult to get into this meeting. And if John hadn't have told me about it, I wouldn't have known. And when I tried to get the invite and registration, I struggled and had to go back to Julie at the Institute to get me the link. If it takes me more than 3 clicks and 10 minutes to find it, then there's a problem. And I think that definitely needs to be looked at, because it will deter people joining. It was something we had when I ran the Northwest branch in England. We had an issue with that, and they kind of dealt with it, and they were very proactive in how they sent notifications out and things like that, and it really did help. But I'll be honest, I struggle to find this information on the website, and I think that needs to be addressed if you definitely want to improve membership and awareness. One of the things that I'd like to do is, as a business, I work for an American company, and we have various companies within our ecosystem that are either American with a footprint in mainland Europe, or are UK based with a footprint in mainland Europe, or are a European out and out company. And one of the things that I think we may be able to help with is, we are also increasing our brand awareness, as is IIRSM in mainland Europe. And I think we can help educate some of our client representatives in terms of their safety persona. We can help tell them that this actually exists, because when I speak to clients, very, very few know about IIRSM, and we have international in the title.
Yeah.
So we need to look at that. And so if we can help spread the love, so to speak, across some of our client organizations, it should hopefully increase some of the memberships, and sell the value. Because as an organization, I had this conversation with the CEO a couple of weeks ago. I said, I think, and it's a challenge we face as a business as well, I said, you sometimes have to look at the GDP within a country, and look at, if not all employers pay your fees. And if an individual is paying that fee themselves, what am I getting out of it? I had a conversation with John this morning. My IOSH membership is due for renewal 2 months ago, and I've had 3 people calling me, asking me to renew. Now, I know that tells me there's a problem, because in 30 years plus, that's never happened before. And the reason why I'm still sort of wringing my hands and deciding is because I don't see the value. And I think that is something we need to ask our marketing team within the Institute to help develop, whether it be a one-pager or something like that, to help communicate what is the value of joining this organization. What is
John, can you put again the slide of the mission and value? And Michael, we agree with you totally. John can testify how many times I said this, and I said to everyone in their bloody face, what is the value? What are we getting out of it? And we're losing valuable members due to that as well. And what is the value proposition? Michael, one thing, where are you based?
I'm based in Northern England. I have a global.
There, okay.
Yeah. So in fact, Herman's boss is a really good friend of mine. So I know Grant very, very well. So it's a small world. So I'm based near Manchester in the UK, but right. I have a global remit. So I do travel quite extensively.
If you see the chat now, the IIRSM just uploaded the key messages, because when we asked this question, they came up with this PDF. Michael, I'm going to make you stop there because I want more of your opinion, but I want Stephen and Peter also to introduce themselves and give us a bit of their insights. So Stephen, can I start with you?
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
So I'm like Michael, I'm a Mancunian. I'm based in Manchester. I've been involved in health and safety since probably about 2003, working for various organizations. I'm a fellowship member now of IIRSM, and I was an IOSH member as well. Now, my background is diverse, like everyone here, and one of my past exercises, for want of a better word, was politics. I was in politics, local government for 17 years, and I was involved in international relations. So whether my place was here or not, I was never sure, because it sounds very attractive, European Committee member, but whether I'm entitled to be here is a question I couldn't really find out. So I've just rocked up today. But it does excite me, the possibilities of what the potential is with IIRSM. I feel it instinctively that there's great growth and opportunity here. I'll give you a short story. When I was in my role in a local authority, I went to Holland and visited the European Space Agency on 2 different occasions, their site. And that was very interesting, and I had made some good contacts there. But you mentioned CERN before as a visiting destination, and I think European Space Agency again would be a great destination to visit. But I've not gone there recently. The last time I was there was 7 years ago. But that's what's going to attract eyeballs and interest and coverage. If we start doing projects like that, membership's going to be naturally head turned by what are you doing there? And there's no limit to our aspiration and vision here. And I just can feel every single person who's spoken so far, you've made me listen because you've got something interesting to say. And we should be encapsulating all this talent you've got here and moving future projects. Now, 2 of my little things would be, I'm very interested in root cause of issues. And I worked at Manchester Airport on a project a few years ago where we actually went to root cause model of what caused the accident. And for the first time ever, we had a proper answer. I had a bad argument with my wife at home. And he brought that to work. And he so seldom get to that root cause. I mean, we look at all the other issues, but society now has to look inward and start saying to itself, root cause and mental health is in the home, not just the workplace. And we should start having that conversation. I know we are starting to have that conversation, but that's a really interesting one. And obviously all the international issues, all universal. They're unique to England, unique to Europe, and unique to the world. It's all the same, really. So I think we have an opportunity here to do something exciting. But I'm one of those people who never shuts up, so I'll finish there.
And Stephen, if I can just jump in as well. I couldn't agree more with the root cause analysis example. And if you have time to dig into the recordings on the website, I did one on poor mental health as a root cause for a personal accident, an injury that I got myself. And it really struck me at the time that how seldom, if ever, you unearth these sort of things when you're doing a workplace root cause analysis. And it must be so prevalent, at least, if not the root cause, a root cause of injuries. We say things like mind not on the job, but why wasn't their mind not on the job? So yeah, there's a great one. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Stephen. Can I go to Peter now, please?
Yes, with pleasure. Let me open with an apology. I joined late. I hate when people do that. And I'm so sorry for being one of those people. But I did promise John that I would be here, and I absolutely wanted to honor that promise. So I'm a newbie. I haven't interacted with any of you except John. And this is the first time. So who am I and why am I here? I'm an ex-colleague of John's, and we worked together for quite a long time. We run back in the decades, actually.
Yeah.
So we've chatted on various occasions about various topics, and I think we have a common set of interests, which led me to this path. I work in the sphere of continuous improvement. I am a consultant and a coach, and I really work as a styled catalyst. I work with clients to help them do what they could do by themselves, but do much better, I hope, and much faster in many cases. And I'm really here to help them do what they say they'll do, because this seems to be a blight of an awful lot of companies. They start out with great plans and struggle to get them done. And projects in the safety sphere are just as difficult to achieve as in any other sphere. So that's why I'm interested. My perspective is perhaps slightly different because I'm not a hardcore safety professional. I have worked a lot in safety. I worked a lot in risk and managing risk for various chemical manufacturers. So I work in the sphere of performance ingredients. I've dealt with some pretty nasty materials in my time as well. So I'm far from immune to that risk. I'm very well aware of the potential of what we do in workplaces being able to harm people. But I believe it's a common theme that should be treated with many others. In other words, when we're trying to make the right product at the right time, at the right price for customers, we should be doing it in the right way. And this is the bucket that I approach safety and other things under. We have a permit to do what we do, and that's a sort of loose permit, if you like, rather than a real one. We have an obligation to do things in the right way, not hurting people, not damaging the environment, complying with legislation are all part of that. And my perspective is one of those that's quite holistic in that sense. I discussed this quite a bit with John, that in my opinion, safety shouldn't be a thing. It should be part and parcel of what we're introducing to the right way to our factories and our places of work, that should be owned by everybody and be an integral part of what we bring into the workplace activities and the behaviors that we do and so on. Now, I know this aligns a lot, but where does this lead me into this group? Well, I think that we do need institutions. I am a member of a number of institutions, the Institution of Chemical Engineers, amongst others, and I confess the biggest use I get out of it is that it gives me a great logo to put on my LinkedIn as a member. And I suspect I am a member of a huge audience that do much the same thing because they don't actually get an awful lot of value out of being an institute member. Now, why, I think, comes down to what's really happening and the value that is delivered. I look for an institute for, yes, knowledge, but it's not everything at all. Knowledge access has been so facilitated in the recent years and decades with the internet and now AI ability to be able to pull that out faster and easier, that it's really not a differentiating factor. What I was looking for with John over the last couple of years was institutes and bodies that give something more, that give a place to really discuss new. I'm really not interested in best practice because it isn't best. It's only best somewhere. I'm interested in ideas. I'm interested in sounding boards. Where can I talk to people about an idea I have about introducing a safety culture to a brand new plant? Absolutely true example. I called John last week to discuss that exact situation. I have a green field in terms of safety. How on earth should I go about this? What's the experiences and how can I get some great tips to do it well? Where do I go for that? That's much harder. And I think in that sense, it makes a big difference if there's a community of people I can easily join to. So I totally echo the previous comments. It has to be easy to get in. It really does. 3 clicks, forget it. For me, it was 2 and I was already feeling tired. No, easy to connect to, get some feedback, get some pointers, let me make the choices about what I'm going to do. and get on and come back and tell everybody how it went. That kind of environment, very, very different. So for me, the value is all about doing. Can you help me do? And if you can't, or you're further away from that, and the further away you are, the less likely I am to join. Because if you can help me do, I'll be back for more. If you can help me execute and you can help me catalyze different things, to use that word again, I'll come back for more. So that for me really matters. And I did miss the introduction, so forgive me if I'm repeating, but I do suspect that institutes like this one are trying to be all things to all men a little bit. I just saw your slide a minute ago about why join. There were like 15 bullet points. To me, that's 10 too many. Give me 1 or 2 compelling reasons to join and I'm in. I don't need 15 points from 15 reasons. You've already got me or not with the first 3. So I think that kind of focus could help. What's it really for? You mentioned differentiation. That was up on the questions. That's the deal. What can you do really, really well that other institutes, and I have a colleague who's in another risk management institute, are not doing? Where's the change? And for me, if that's in the doing sphere, the active support, the catalyst sphere, then that would be even more powerful. So that's what I joined into to help and share. I am more than happy to be part of the group. I'm certainly happy to join an institute that can help me deliver safer, more compliant areas that I work in with clients that I have. That for me is where the value really lies.
So, quick question: where are you based?
I'm based in Switzerland, so I live in just outside Geneva. I'm UK born. I'm a Welshman, so that's in my accent. And I've
had
worked.
an inkling, yeah.
Go ahead.
And listen, another question. So, if you were speaking about face-to-face events and webinars, where do you go? Or is the same for you, or is best face-to-face events or webinars? What do you prefer?
Both. It has to be the answer, because why have black and white when you can have grey, and endless shades of grey? I think it's a balance. So much of our job is about striking a balance and finding valuable compromises that I think the answer to that is you genuinely need both. Some things you can do perfectly well virtually. You can share information virtually, you can have discussions virtually. But if you want to run a really good workshop and get under the skin of people, you kind of have to be face-to-face or have some face-to-face space, because people perform differently like that. They do different things. They are more open to certain types of difficult question when it's face-to-face, because when you're only looking at that of a person, it's just not as personable. So I think both.
Understood. Thank you so much. And we have our last participant, Loveness. Can you introduce yourself? Where are you calling from?
I'm so sorry, my audio is not great. Could you just tell me that again?
We have another participant that needs to introduce himself.
Perfect. I'll pass the baton.
Thank you. Loveness, can you hear me? Okay, I think no. So
do you need to unmute them, Nico?
No, they should be able to do themselves,
okay.
but I'm trying to do that as well, but I can't. I just have to ask them to mute. Anyways, let's not stop over the technical stuff. I have a couple of questions, John. So we have seen a huge growth in the last year of corporate memberships in the UK. And as Michael was referring, when you were with a network of companies that they belong to the same institutes, I think we can have the brand a bit more visible. Since you have access to more information than us, can you explain a bit more where we're going with this corporate growth in Europe?
Yeah, first of all, just one reflection on what we heard, because listening to Peter, and thanks for all of that input. It's kind of reflecting back on what Alberto said as well, because Alberto said that we lost some attraction to the network when we went from being a Swiss network to a European branch. And I think also, Peter was saying about trying to be all things to all people. And there is a bit in my mind that reflects that maybe we have lost some of that focus. When it was just a Swiss branch, we had more focus. So how do we bring some focus while still having the right level of coverage and not trying to be all things to all people? So I think there's a couple of inputs there that have got me thinking I need to take away and and discuss a bit more widely as well. And yeah, and then the question on the corporate memberships, I think it relates a bit to what Mike was saying as well. It's still the biggest source of income for the Institute is individual memberships. So it is a membership organization, and we need to focus on the individuals. One of the other approaches they've been taking in recent years is growing corporate partners, and that could be a range of different things. But I think typically a corporate partner is someone who has IIRSM accredited training. So they're either IIRSM are delivering it through their own partners, or the organisations deliver it themselves, but it's been accredited as a sort of suitable level of safety training. So they're getting more and more of those where they can put the IIRSM logo onto a certificate and say, this training is not just something we've invented ourselves; it is proper training on this topic. So those corporate members have grown in recent years, and it does grow and change and evolve. There's new ones coming in, other ones going. There's small companies, there are big organizations. So that has been developing recently. But again, relating to what Mike said, I think maybe there's a way we could use that better, because organizations like Mike's that have a set of clients in continental Europe, maybe we can connect into those networks, provide something of value for them, but also get some value from their participation by increasing the scope and the level of those interactions, so that there is more of the maybe more of the catalysis that Peter was talking about. So I think there's a lot of these topics connect, and I think there's really something here where we can take those ideas and develop them a bit further.
John, if I could just chime in, because we're a partner of the Institute as well.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than just a training facility. What they're actively looking for is, because it comes down to money at the end of the day, is a bit of a pay and display type scenario where they display logos and things on different events. But it also, the one big advantage that we see from the membership is the professional networking that it facilitates between different companies. And so, for example, we have a big of our first event of 2025 on 17th of June, where representatives from every member of those partner organizations will be there, discussing trends, discussing programs that they're using, and just different topics. There's no sort of set agenda there, but there's a lot of value in talking to these different people, because they all come from different sectors, different spaces. So there is a little bit more to it than just the training. They do also allow you to facilitate membership to different areas, also to work on research projects, participate in webinars and things like that. So we see a lot of value from it in its current format. So just thought I'd just kind of chime in and just explain that bit.
No, thanks for that. I appreciate it. And I think what it highlights as well is, I suppose what I was picking up on is one of the differences between maybe some of the individual members and the corporate members. But actually what you've then highlighted is the similarity is not just the networking of individuals in the profession, but the networking between companies.
Correct.
And how we can learn. So it's so a similar topic, but maybe a different scale.
Alberto has the hand up.
Oh. Yeah. I just want to maybe provide and also ties with what Peter was saying. So I guess if we look at this reason why we need to be part of a community, no one of these bullet points help any single member to have an easier way to do the daily work. So I think what we need to try to focus in our objectives, and the reason why people would like to join and pay the fee, is, does attending or participating to this network help me in my daily work or not? So I guess the focus needs to be on who is receiving or is participating to to the workshop, to the training, or to whatever we do in this community. I think we should change a little bit the paradigm and not just. And if you see this one are really, so I think that this one are really attractive for UK people or people that are based in UK, but people that are out of UK, maybe they don't see the same value on legal help desk networking, which is really strong in UK and is not so strong in other in our region where we are based. So here the question is, how do we help people to do better their job? And that's where we might see increase, or we might attract newcomer, new people, because they see that it's useful.
Yeah, but
Joining this meeting on the for the daily job, for what they do on a daily.
One of the big things that we've been trying to get, is someone that speaks about the legal, especially because the EU changes, it's important. It's important that we can get EU law as well in there, because Swiss and EU law more or less are coordinated in many ways. And the UK is going completely in a different direction. So yes, we have been trying to get someone, but of course, without money or budget, is sometimes difficult to achieve that. It's something that, yes, we really are interested. I want to hear more from you, all of you. I wanted to ask you, the LinkedIn growth and the WhatsApp growth is still there, but the membership growth is not there. So wouldn't you think that aside from having the corporate membership, having, like someone that is a champion within an organization, help you grow the membership internally and create a network? Because I think much of what Peter was saying is that network and where he can tap for know-how and have like-minded professionals that can support. Would that help to have an internal network, an internal champion within the company to try to attract more people?
I would say,
I think it
Sorry,
would help.
go ahead.
Sorry. I think it would help, but I think we've got to kind of go back to basics here, because at the moment, if you actually, what are you communicating? Because if it's just verbal, which I think a lot of it will be at this moment in time, people are like goldfish; they'll forget within 5 minutes. There needs to be something that we need to give people so they can actually assimilate this, and before they start recommending memberships. I always found this quite difficult at times, trying to sell the concept of the institute, but I had nothing to give them. And sometimes you've got to go back old school and start whether it be a PDF or whatever, just something that just lists it rather than a link or something like that. You've got to give them maybe an FAQ or something like that, just so they can actually see what the members are.
Even if you get the Sentinel, at least you can have something in your hands that you're paying for.
Correct. I didn't realize. I thought you guys got that automatically as a member.
No, and that is something that, excuse my French, but it really pissed me off, because, why we pay the same and we get half? And I also you mentioned, the GDP of the country. This was another thing. Not every country is on the same standing. When I was working in AIM, and I work in the Institute of Environmental Management and Assessment, I was fighting for people in non-OECD countries to have a discounted membership but receive the same benefits. Eventually was achieved 2-3 years ago during COVID, and because people were leaving. Another route of entry for members is the training. They do a training, right? And then they become members of the Institute. And I think we have that with IIRSM. You do certain levels of NIVOS qualifications, and then you can enter.
If I could just give you an example that will support that statement. Last year we did a bursary with the IIRSM focusing on predominantly Indian, mainly because of the people that are working in the UAE in safety roles, and it was free membership for a year for 15 people, and they had to do an application for that. Now, the membership fee for that professional in the UAE is the same as it is for me based over in the UK. And of those 15 people that we paid for their membership for the year, none of them have renewed. So that's to me is anecdotal as it may be, is pretty telling, because their employer is not paying for it the same way that in most cases the employer pays in the UK, definitely. And I sometimes ask the question, if the employer wasn't paying, how many people would be paying out of their own pocket? And I think there would be a massive drop in numbers. So I think sometimes you have to look at that based on, because not everybody's earning big salaries. Even in the UK, they're not. You know, if you look at the general safety person, the salaries are pretty crap. So looking at people working abroad, especially some of the folks working in emerging economies, then you have to look at what you're charging.
Yeah, and what they're getting for it, right?
Yeah, because if you're simply paying to have designatory letters, if the employer or prospective employer doesn't even recognize those letters, then it's a waste of money. So I've kind of said, look, I'd rather have 100 people at a lower rate than 100 of nothing. So so I think what you say is a very valid point. I think Sentinel is an extremely good example, and in this day and age, there should be no issues about you getting that. In my view.
And I actually have information from last year from my email, distributing per member all over the world, average cost £8.50. Right. Average cost for the whole world.
And I think you mentioned about having more articles about things that are happening in the European market. To me, I see that as fantastic value, especially post-Brexit. Without going down that route, but I just think, to me, you know, some of the things that are happening, especially in the ESG sustainability field, because to me there is a dovetailing with health and safety and risk. You know, to me, having that information and articles instead of this UK centric approach we have, because there is international in the title. So to me, we should be having that. To me, it's a massive learning. It's a learning curve for everybody then, and I think we can all benefit from understanding. If you're setting up a business and trying to establish a safety culture in, say, one of the Eastern Bloc countries, you know, 30 years ago, these guys were under communism. Now they're just trying to get up to you can't expect them to have the same standards as a German company or a UK company. They've got to start somewhere. So to me, I think some of those things are fantastic value, and I didn't know you'd ask for that, because to me, I think you'd get my vote.
I want to thank you so much, Michael. We have 5 minutes left, and I want to just summarize a few of the recurrent themes I'm listening, and then I'll go to you, Stephen. Don't worry. So the value proposition keeps coming up in some way or another. We're still speaking about the network and where we are doing, what is the network that you have available. And then I think as well, the ease of access to the services. But please continue. I just have these 3 themes that some way or another keep showing up. Stephen, you wanted to say something, or?
Yeah, I put the comments in the chat section, but I just wanted to say, Audrey, following verbally, so follow what Michael said. I believe the insurance sector, which we rely heavily on in our industry, who back what we do, and also are almost the foundation of this industry, if you want to analyze it thoroughly. I think we could have a working relationship with the insurance sector, whoever that may be in our organizations, because I would imagine it would lean into these sorts of initiatives and events, and would help us make it more sustainable. So I just want to have that as a perhaps an ongoing discussion. And also, I've really enjoyed this, by the way. Can we keep in contact via email circulation? Will it be circulated as an email? Thank you.
I'm pretty sure we can arrange that. Yes. Well, John, you have a few minutes. You have a few minutes left if you want to finish with a few ideas.
I was going to summarize what you did. I was just thinking, Julie, I'm happy to share my email address with this group, because I think I can't contact everybody, all the data protection rules for registration. But if you were able to, if you're doing a follow-up, if you can give my contact details, I'd be very happy.
You have it in the last slide, Joe?
Sorry?
If you have it in the last slide, if you want to put it.
No, I changed that on Julie's advice.
Okay, you can put it in the chat maybe, or whatever.
but yeah, I can do that. But I was going to summarize in a similar way. I was looking at the slide that's on screen at the moment. We have some new questions, which I think is what you've just summarized. Is what is the value? How do we create some compelling events to build the network? How will membership help me in my day job, and how will it help me to do, rather than just with knowledge? So I think there are definitely some things coming through in there. And how do we manage this thing about being quite a big branch across a diverse region, but still keep some focus and make sure it is meaningful for the right, for our members. And I was also reflecting back, so I think it was Stephen asked, "Am I allowed to be here?" or something like that. And I know my map of Europe was a bit exclusive, but we're very happy to have people from other branches in our calls. And I think this collaboration, particularly with international businesses, we have someone on from Africa. I don't think we have anyone on from the Middle East today. No, we don't. But there's a lot of activity going on there. With the collaboration with people in the UK, but working internationally, and how can we, to use Peter's word, how can we catalyze some activities with those groups? That would be fantastic. And then I just want to respond on the last point, because one of the new trustees who joined when I did, Jonathan Biney, is from Ghana, and he's really championing this idea, and he raised it at a recent meeting in London. But he's really a champion of this idea of having a different fee for different regions, different countries, for the same value. So how can we increase membership that way, get more people involved, get more life in the organization, but at a reasonable rate for the country that people are based in. So I'll give that feedback to him as well, because I think he will continue pushing that point as well. But overall, thank you very much. I really enjoyed this. It's much better than just a webinar with one person talking, lots of different voices, different discussions. Would also be nice to have a few more people on, but I think it highlights one of the challenges we have at getting people online at 12 noon in Europe or 11 a.m. in the UK, and getting them away from their day job and involved in these things. But if we can respond to some of your points, and hopefully in future we get a lot more voices and we have a really good discussion and do a bit more face-to-face. But thank you, I enjoyed it. Good session.
Thank you, everyone. We'll let you be, and have a good day.
Same, bye-bye. Take care.
Thanks so much, everyone. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.